Thank you. My name is Gerry Hope, and I was, Harriet Beleal was one of the people that was listed on the program. She wasn't able to make it today. And one of the things that she was going to present on was some of the A&B history. She was the vice president of various other office positions when I was president of the A&B Sitka Camp No. 1, as we were leading up to the 100-year convention in last year, 1912 to 2012. One of the projects that Camp 1 and A&S Camp 4 had was to put together a series of panels. And a series of panels would have highlights of the efforts of the Alaska Native Brotherhood. And Bob, I think you bring up a very important point. What I'm going to do is lay the groundwork for those who came before us as positive role models and actually challenge us to try and emulate their efforts as best that we possibly can. In this set of panels, interestingly enough, actually are just copies of the hard metal framed panels that we have at the Camp 1 hall. And those are permanently placed inside the hall. But we wanted to also go ahead and have a traveling exhibit that would show just exactly what the panels have. These were brought out officially at the 100-year convention last fall in Sitka. And there's actually 6 of them. You see the odd numbered ones in front of you. On the other side are the even numbered panels. And the timeline is in the middle here that shows major highlighted events. And I don't see any A&B or A&S Grand Camp officers here that I... Oh! She's a lifetime, right? Carol Brady is lifetime member of A&S Wrangell?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am. Camp 2, Juneau.
Yeah. So you qualify more than the executive officers.
And also A&S Camp 2.
Juneau Camp 2. All right. And you are too?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. So I wanted to just make mention that this originally speaks before contact and at the time of contact in one of the big battles. One time, in 1995, I was elected treasurer for the National Congress of American Indians, and at that time, they had wanted to recognize veterans, so they did. I'm not, but they also wanted to recognize the family of veterans. Well, I don't have any direct family that were in the military, but I stood in line anyway. And when it came time for me to introduce myself as a family of a veteran, I told them that my relations were in the Battle of 1804. I'm Kick-7 Yeti, who fought the Russians. And that got more applause than all the other conflicts. I'm going to turn this around so you can, you'll be able to come up here later on and take a closer look. This is really fine print. And I apologize, we did not have time to put this in print for handouts. And so each panel has a title, and then it goes into some of the detail. Each one, 1 through 6, are in chronological time history manner. And so you see the founding fathers. It's really incredible the amount of challenge that our forefathers and foremothers had to go through just to survive. One of the challenges that you saw today in some of the language panelists is to be able to keep our language. The dominant culture determined that we cannot do our language, we cannot do our culture, we cannot do our ceremonies. You'll recall the last great potlatch, 1904. A&B also said no language. That was survival mode. That was pure survival mode. We had to say that amongst our own people. But guess what? That was the official word. But if you even look at the A&B and ANS today, when they go through their conferences, and you'll see there is interlaced Tlingit culture that's in it. So it almost became an underground, and language was spoken. So then we go to panel 3. I'm not going to go through this timeline. I want you guys to go ahead and have an opportunity to appreciate these timelines yourselves. But it goes to a lot of major victories that was well before whatever took place in Congress. Oh, Ethel Lund is ANS Grand Camp. I want to recognize her. Anyway, thank you. Give her. In the before A&B and ANS got established, let's just step back real quick. We could not own land. We could not vote. I don't know if we even go potty by ourselves. There was a lot taken away. We were determined to be aliens. Imagine that first people were now aliens. Last Native Brotherhood initially started, Last Native Sisterhood started as well. Put the effort together, and they overcame those barriers. Why? It has been stated by A&B and ANS Grand Camp officers before me, who are long since passed now, but I've heard say from themselves, is that probably because of the Tlingit caste system, that we were able to identify with the Robert's Rules of Order. The caste system allowed us to figure out how to be very methodical in meetings, and guess what? That's what the territorial legislature at the time, state legislature, and the United States Congress is based on. So the Robert's Rules of Order, parliamentary procedure, is something that was a very strong basis of how to manage and conduct business in the A&B and ANS. They translated that very effectively into the state legislative process, then the territorial legislative process, and the U.S. Congress. How did that make a difference? They were able to overturn things such as not being able to own land, not being able to vote, having an education system that wasn't separate and segregated. They desegregated before this even hit the national scene. Amazing. Before we were even a state. In 1945, the Equal Rights legislation. When did that ever happen in Congress? 20 years later. Amazing, amazing stuff. And this is energy that I believe we need, Bob, to transfer, and I appreciate your point because I strongly agree with your point, Paula. I stand with you. We need to take the torch, take the mantle that I think is resting right now, and address the PL 280. I'm not going to go into a lot of legal discussion about PL 280 because I'm not a lawyer, but also because we don't have enough time. Needless to say, it is another suppressive legal tool for Alaska Natives by the state of Alaska. So I want to thank you for your time. I also want to encourage you to take a little bit of time when you have a chance to go through these panels and look at them. They're going to be on display throughout the conference. Yes?
You said you didn't have time to make a copy of this, but is it available online somewhere?
No.
Okay.
But Peter, we were talking about trying to get something, we'll have to work that out. We just didn't have the budget, nor did we have to, we're just volunteering, and we're glad to take donations. If you have a company, corporation, I'm hoping that the Alaska Native Brotherhood and Alaska Native Sisterhood will be able to put this into, I think A&B has a website. I think that's all, it's not here at the moment. But I'll take that comment and send that along to the A&B Natives grant. Yes.
Is the END and ANS actively gathering and addressing civil rights currently within the Southeast communities?
Not in a strong manner, I think they are. I am no longer president of Camp 1. If you join the ANS, I think they'd welcome you. And if you bring forward goals, they're one of the most open forums that I know. I go to city assembly meetings and agency meetings. It seems like the ANS is just a very open format. There's a very good dialogue that comes from their good goals as a city. I think the most recent ones that I'm aware of that they addressed were subsistence, the Sacro herring fishery in Sitka. There was also a real strong effort that was successful in challenging commercializing the harvest of seaweed and also of devil's milk. They challenged that with the federal government and they were successful. They also were successful in getting elevators installed in the LeConte and the Aurora, things like that. They're still pretty active. Sure.
I wonder if I can come up.
Carol Feller, come on down. You're a member of ANS? Camp 2? Oh, okay. Anchorage in Seattle. All right, you're a life member? Give her a round of applause. Oh, did you? Uncle Herb? All right, thank you.
Hello, everybody. I was born in Sitka. My dad was Ray James, the member of the Kickstarted Point House people there. The people that were one of the clans that were living there during the Russian invasion. So, well, this was I'm related to him on both sides. My grandmother, Yonda Gay, she adopted John Hope, his dad, and he was raised up at the cottages with us. Yes, and well, I have to tell you something really, it shouldn't be knocking anybody, but this is a story about the A&B, how strong they were. There was a German ship coming into town. I guess that was just before I was born, 15 years before or so. And the captain chose to be entertained by the people of the land. That meant the invitation they got from the Alaska Native Brotherhood. And when the band came ashore first, and they were marched up to the Moose Hall. At that time, natives weren't allowed to go dance at the Moose Hall. And then the captain came ashore later, and said, well, take me to my van. And they took him, they said, well, they're up at the Moose Hall. So they took him up the Moose Hall. He said, when they got there, he marched in the middle of the floor, and he said, he clapped his hand. He said that he told his band, they're going to be entertained by the people of the land. So they marched back down to the A&B Hall. I thought that was really good recognition of Alaska Native Brotherhood being big time then. So I'm really proud of being related to him from the Wrangell side. My mother was from Wrangell. But Isabella Brady told me that during the 100th year celebration, she was planning on her, what she was going to bring up there. But she died before then, so she didn't communicate with the president, and I guess she didn't have a chat. But my mother, Elizabeth Cadishan James, was the first Grand President of the Alaska Native Sisterhood in 1929. John Hope wrote this in the history of the A&B, and I'm so happy he did. Isabella said Isabella was Peter Simpson's granddaughter. He's noted as father of Alaska Native Brotherhood. He's a Simpson, married into our clan, the Point House people. So she said, your mother was very brilliant and should be noted. It's history that she was even helping the founders. So the Hopes and my family and the Church family are all closely related. And so I like to talk about the history of Sitka. Now, I don't know much. These are the things I do know. And I do know my mother was a half-sister to Louis Shotridge. So I thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you all. Don't enjoy the panels and get a chance.